the meeting of the Milton School Committee. And as we always do, I invite you to stand as you're able and salute the flag with us. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Switch back.
I have no amendments to tonight's agenda. Does anyone have any additions, corrections, additions? Seeing none, then we'll move along to our citizen speak. Actually, just before the citizen speak, I would ask your indulgence for a moment to take a moment of silence in memory of James Connolly, who's a custodian of the Milton Public Schools, who passed away on May 11th after a long illness. He was hired as a custodian in March of 2002, and over the years has worked at Glover and Cunningham Collegiate schools. He was a dedicated, well-respected employee and will be missed. On behalf of the Milton Public Schools, we'd like to offer our sympathy to Jim's wife, Jean, and his sons, Jesse and Ryan. So if you would just take a moment. Thank you very much. So we'll now move on to citizen speak. First on our list would be the Pierce players. Here, come up here.
Good evening. My name is Maddie Hoy, and I am playing the Wicked Witch of the West in the Pierce Middle School's upcoming production of The Wizard of Oz. 140 members of the Pierce players, including students from grades 6th, 7th, and 8th, have been rehearsing for nearly 4 months. We are all very excited to perform this classic show for the Milton community on June 2nd and 3rd at 7 p.m. and June 4th at 2 p.m. at the Pierce Middle School Auditorium. Tickets can be purchased by calling Anna McReynolds at 617-696-4570 or by downloading an order form from thepierceplayers.com. Purchasing tickets in advance is strongly recommended. I would now like to introduce Jackie Rosito, who is Dorothy, Michael Wyatt, who is playing the Scarecrow, Garrett Sager, who is playing the Tin Man, and Patrick Madigan, who is playing the Cowardly Lion, as they give us a sample of their performances from The Wizard of Oz.
I'd be brave as a blizzard, I'd be gentle as a lizard.
I'd be clever as a gizzard. If the wizard is a wizard who will serve, then I'm sure to get a brain,
A heart,
a home.
the Noive. We're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz. We hear he is the Wizard of a Wiz, if ever a wiz there was. If ever a whiz there was, the Wizard of Oz is one because of the wonderful things he does. We're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz.
Thank you, and we hope to see you at the show.
Bill DeShane in the audience, and I didn't want them to sing 1 minute longer because everybody's going to go to one of those presentations and enjoy the entire show. Thank you for coming out tonight. After tonight, you'll sell out all 3 performances. Thank you.
Next on our citizen speak, the person who has the hardest job has to follow them. Myrtle Fly.
Come right up. I'd like to give introduction to Myrtle. John Phelan will bring you right up to the table. Myrtle is here tonight, and she's going to present, but by way of introduction, if you'd sit down, Myrtle, and join us. Last November, our parents who were advocating for art at the elementary schools brought children to the Milton Public Library, and they wrote notes to citizens in Milton advocating for art. And Myrtle Flight and other individuals from the Fuller residences responded to those students' notes, those elementary children's notes, met with the Milton Public Schools, Dr. Noreen Dagger-Vedette, Marcia Retsky. We've met 1 or 2 times each month, and a partnership intergenerational between Fuller and the Milton Public Schools is going to occur this weekend. And on behalf of the Milton Public Schools, you have become, Myrtle, you've given us the work of a staff member, a teacher, and your vision and your passion about the arts, in what you've done for the Milton Public School. I am so proud to introduce you tonight. And I said nobody can speak better to the excitement of this weekend than Myrtle, who really, it was your seed who grew into this huge tree and forest Friday night and Saturday. So I present to you Myrtle Flynn.
Well, it's very exciting. We are very excited at Fuller about what is to happen this weekend. The program is entitled Salute the Arts. And that refers not just to one form of art, but to several forms of art. We have had great cooperation from the Milton Public Schools and from Mary Gormley, and we've had great cooperation from our own people. At Fuller, there are many retired teachers, and they're interested in the arts, they're interested in the schools. And this gives them an opportunity to interact with the students this coming weekend, and with each other and with the teachers, and we certainly are happy. Many of you have received these in the mail. If you didn't receive one, that doesn't mean don't come. That means, yes, come, and we'll give you another one. I'm going to leave some here this evening when I leave. The Fuller Residents Association is putting this on, and on Friday night, we're having a special program for the teachers from the schools here in Milton, for those who are town officers and for others, to come and see what I think is a pretty large display of different kinds of art. And there's a great deal of art from the Milton schools, and it is beautiful. It's really
And art from the residents of Fuller.
And we have found art at Fuller, found art that we didn't know was there. It's been a great experience. We hope you'll come on Friday night. On Saturday afternoon, in cooperation with the teachers, there will be a workshop for the students that they'll come in, and special program has been planned for them. We will have a story by Andrea Gordon, and we will have a puppet show. And we'll have some fancy work to be done, some refreshments that are appropriate for students, for young students, and we're really looking forward to it. The music department at Milton High School, and I think it's just the high school, is cooperating and helping us with this, and our own people have been practicing. They just want to keep up, you know. We hope you'll all come.
So to Myrtle's invitation, Jen, between 7 and 9 at Fuller Brush Hill on Friday night, no charge. The entire community is welcome to attend. Champagne and desserts. There'll be a silent auction of residents' work and students' work. And our own school committee member, Kristen Bagley-Jones, has agreed as just one of the many art advocates at this table to MC the event. And there'll be a fabulous, Joanne Rothschild has donated a piece of art that will be live auctioned, but the rest is silent. And then there's no cost for Saturday from 1 to 4 for families with elementary school children to come to Fuller and experience art. And there's going to be displays, whole rooms of Milton residents' artwork and student art.
So we hope you'll come. We're looking forward to it.
Thank you, Myrtle, on behalf of your public schools.
Is there anyone else for citizen speak who didn't have a chance to sign up? Very well, and we'll move on to our approval of the minutes of our April 6th, 2012 school committee meeting. These are distributed to you in email as part of the meeting. That accepts a motion to approve the minutes of April 6th. Mrs. Kelly, second by Mr. Graham. Any comments, adjustments, corrections? Seeing none, then all in favor of the minutes of April 6, 2011 is distributed. Opposed? Abstention? One abstention. It's 4-0. Thank you. And we'll move on to the superintendent's report.
Well, I've told individuals in the audience, and I should tell the viewing audience, that this might be my favorite school committee meeting, and it hasn't even begun yet. And we have some unbelievably talented students and teachers and administrators for the town of Milton to meet tonight, and welcome and congratulate. First, I'd like to join at the table Timothy Cariff and Andrew Gray and their families. Would you join us at the table? And their future problem-solving coach, Lori Henry, who is the librarian at the Glover and Tucker. So come right up and join us, please. And so first, gentlemen, on behalf of the Milton Public Schools, I want to congratulate you. And entree to Miss Henry, I want to just say that when I taught at the Glover 100 years ago, we began future problem solving. And over the years, we've brought teams of students who have worked together, gone to the state competition, and even one of our school committee members, Mr. Lovely, who was with us, his son went to the nationals. But it's always been a team. And this competition to me, which you've accomplished, is what all of us work for. And you've brought together your intellectual capabilities, your writing strengths, your organizational skills. But tonight, I want to present to you, these two Glover students have distinguished themselves singularly in a competition and really ranked at the state level. This is a huge, huge accomplishment. I could not be more proud of you, and you should be proud of yourselves. This is really to do a single competition. You know, when you're in a team, it's wonderful too. Everybody has a role, but you might not have all the strengths required, but you have really differentiated yourselves and separated yourselves, and you've brought pride to the Glover and to the Milton Public Schools and to this community. And I have to tell you, when I went over to see these two gentlemen, you're going to describe it, but is it water that you're going to compete on now? Or you did water? Well, the boy said to me, well, Miss Formley, emergency plan is going to be a lot easier than the water one. So again, they were at an intellectual level that was really high. So I want to tell you how proud I am of you on behalf of all of your teachers in the community. And I think the community and the school committee is going to be really amazed when Lori Henry, their very able coach, and these gentlemen tell us what they've accomplished and where they're going from now. So they are going to, Miss Timothy is going into the International Bowl. He has earned first place in the state, and Mr. Gray is in second place, right there with him. So Lori, I'll turn it over to you and the gentleman.
Thank you, Ms. Corwin.
Future problem solvers.
I'm just going to give a quick overview of the program and explain what Timothy and Andrew accomplished. Future Problem Solving is an international program that helps students refine their critical and creative thinking abilities and improve their oral and written communication, research, and teamwork skills as they apply information that they have learned to complex issues facing society. In Milton, Future Problem Solving is a year-long program in 4th and 5th grades, and we meet every other week for 30 minutes. In 4th grade, the students learn a 6-step problem-solving process. They explore challenges, focus on one problem area to solve, brainstorm solution ideas, generate criteria to evaluate their solutions, develop an action plan, and work cooperatively in small groups. Then in 5th grade, they build on the 6-step model to solve social and scientific problems. Additionally, there is a 5th grade future problem-solving competitive team in each school. And this year's team topics were healthy living, air transport, genetic testing, and water quality. The team meets weekly during the school year and competes with other teams throughout the state. And this year, teams from Tucker, Cunningham, and Collycut schools were invited to the State Bowl along with two individuals, Timothy and Andrew. And these two individuals completed the six-step problem-solving process on their own and came in first and second place in the state. So Timothy will be going to the International Future Problem-Solving Competition in Wisconsin in June to compete on the topic of emergency planning. It's quite an accomplishment for both boys.
And perhaps they want to tell us about the competition, or the Timothy wants to share with us his preparation for going to Wisconsin.
Well, like every Friday for about an hour, we meet up and we pretty much go over the topic emergency planning, so we research it so we can kind of get like an understanding of what we're going to be doing in the bowl. So it's pretty exciting, and I'm really excited.
So to both boys, what was the problem around water? What was when you went to the State Bowl?
Well, the problem was mostly about a river in Europe in between Ukraine and Romania, the Milton River, something like that. And, well, so we went through the process and sort of it went well, and then we got first and second.
Well, I have a secret to tell you about this process. Again, they do all of the research on these topics, but Ms. Gormley lives by that future problem solving, and when we have a problem in the office, I often say, let's sit back, let's brainstorm all the solutions, let's do all the research, let's find out which one's the easiest to implement, which is the most cost effective. So it's really, you've learned a theory to really live by, but the research that these elementary school students do is on high school and college level, the reading material. So Mr. Pavlicek has a little surprise for you.
Didn't think these were for me. So for our first question, we've got a trophy. Congratulations to both of you.
Do any school committee members have any questions of these future problem solvers,
I just have one.
leaders of our nation?
So, if it's an international program, what other countries are involved? And do you have interaction with them?
We meet up with other kids across like in other states and also from other countries. But before that, we only interact with other schools in the town and the state. But until international bowl, we're kind of cut off from the other states and countries.
Do you know how many countries or what countries?
I'm actually not so sure.
I know there are several countries, including Australia and Korea, Japan, and New Zealand. So, and Timothy will come back with a full report, I'm sure.
When you come back, Timothy, would you come back to the school committee table and talk to us about the experience?
So impressive.
Not a question at all, but I wanted to echo what Mary said. We certainly believe here in this community that this is the best place to be in the state and perhaps in the United States. But when you compete against everyone in the state and come in first and second, I believe that that is an accomplishment that warrants quite a pride on your part and on my part. And I know and you know that the work that went into it. So it's a really lesson about putting in work and achieving results because of that. So I think you guys deserve your first standing ovation. You don't have to stand, but it's a standing ovation.
I hope this is the first standing ovation of many during your entire lives. And Principal nephew told me that as academically they achieve, they're also wonderful young men and leaders in their school.
I just want to say that we're so grateful to Lori Henry, who has done an amazing job with all the kids at Glover and Tucker, and they never could have done any of this without her guidance, and she's been just so gracious and a wonderful teacher.
And to your point, I appreciate extended herself beyond the school days and the weekends. And for those of the audience who are in the athletic field, again, it takes a phenomenal coach. You are a phenomenal coach to have brought so many teams to the competition and individual competitors. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, John.
Thank you all.
Into your hands.
Yeah.
Next, I have, it is my pleasure, personal and professional, to welcome and ask to join us at the table Kathleen Lynn Hill. Kathleen Hill, Kate Hill. Will you come to the table, Kate? And Kate, I'd like your mother and father and your grandmother and your family to come up with you. Would you all come up? And welcome, Kate. And Kate, would you introduce your family to the school committee and the audience?
Sure. This is my sister Laura. I have another sister, Christina, and then a brother, Lloyd, but I really don't know where they are right now. This is my mom, Kate, my dad, Lloyd, and then my grandmother, Anne Marie, who's my mom's mom.
Well, I want to welcome you here this evening. And for the viewing audience in the school committee, each year, each superintendent across the Commonwealth is asked to recognize one student in their public school district. One student who has separated themselves and in every way has achieved and set the standard that every student should work towards. And so it is my honor tonight, and I'll bring you what over after I tell the audience why Kate Hill is sitting here and how she got here. Her family probably could tell this story better than I can, and I appreciate being given the opportunity to do it. I'm going to read to you. I could give you the list of accomplishments, but Kate's guidance counselor, Ken Robert, who's head of the guidance department, has eloquently put the information together for me. He writes that Kate Hill, during her tenure at Milton High School, has been a leader in our community through her academic, community, theatrical, athletic, and church contributions. Kate is a focused individual, demonstrating the intellectual curiosity and discipline necessary to separate herself academically in her class. Small achievement, for as he notes, the class of 2011 is an academically competitive class, the most competitive he's seen in his 30 years. Kate is a member of the National Honor Society. She has pursued the most rigorous curriculum available, including 14 honors classes and advanced placement classes in statistics, English composition, French, macroeconomics, BC calculus, U.S. history, and English literature. The depth of Kate's interests has been recognized by our faculty at Milton High in honoring her with the Harvard Book Award, the History Department Book Award, and the Math Department Student of the Quarter. Additionally, she is a 4-year participant in the Century Club, the top students at Milton High. In addition to her academic achievements, Kate has impressed the Milton High School experience and staff taking part in chorus, music, piano, drama, sports, debate team, and community service. In our musicals and sports teams, Kate provides an astute knowledge of the roles and responsibilities of all teammates, whether on the stage or on the court. In combination with her competitive spirit, Kate provides a calming presence to the pressure sensitive moments bring in a musical or a competition, a direct result of her preparation for detail. Not constrained by her perspective and readily seeing issues and realities beyond her physical boundaries, Kate is an articulate individual, easily initiating discussion and inquiry. Her ability to engage a variety of personalities in a classroom, notes her teachers, and in the community reveals how comfortable Kate is with herself. I can tell I'm embarrassing her now. But you have earned this recognition. Kate is a founding member of our debate team that qualified for the Massachusetts State Competition in their first year. She was nominated to attend the National Youth Leadership Conference in Beijing and Washington, D.C. As part of her youth ministry in her church, she cantors Sunday Mass and has traveled under the auspices of the Nazareth Farm Organization to repair homes in West Virginia, earning a deep respect for her commitment to families everywhere. The ability to create and work towards goal and team is one of her special traits. She has been honored by her classmates and staff by being the president of the Triad Modern Music, for Dr. Burdett, Modern Music Master National Honor Society, and the president of the Closer Society, and is a board member of the Student Leadership, Mentoring, Classmates, and Underclassmates. Briefly, she's been in the French immersion program for 12 years, and this year, as noted in her bio, what I was impressed with is usually in the area of advanced placement, a student has a strength in history and English, or in math and science. Her AP classes are AP English, AP Calculus, AP Macroeconomics, and in her junior year, she took on 4 advanced placement classes. So, without further ado, it's my pleasure, Kate, would you stand up? Kate Hill, Kate Kathleen Lynn Hill, has duly been qualified and has been the standards prescribed by the Massachusetts Association of School Superintendents, is awarded this 1 certificate of academic excellence to 1 student in each high school across the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. I know you helped. So, Kate, I'm sure the school committee has questions, or your family, or you, or comments. I didn't prep you. Is there anything that you'd like to say, Kate?
It sounds a lot more impressive than it really is.
And modesty can be listed among her activities. And you earned, and you worked hard. And as I said to those Glover Elementary students, on behalf of the Milton Public Schools, and if I could be so bold, the town, I'm so proud of you and congratulate you, and you make us all proud.
I was just going to say that if you could write a how-to book, I'm sure you'd have a lot of parents out there wanting to buy that book. So congratulations, you do make us all proud.
I really can't take any of the credit, to be completely honest. I honestly have to say that my parents instilled in me a work ethic that probably has driven me to do everything that I have done. And it's just for the sake that I love doing it, really. There's nothing, it's not any more complicated than that. I do what I like and I strive to do it well so that other people can enjoy it.
So Kate is off next year too,
Georgetown,
in the School of
the Law School of Foreign Services.
Very, very exciting. Well, again, in halls of Milton High School, you're one of the 1,100 students, and I would be remiss and have to ask you back to the next meeting if I didn't also ask us to join us at the table. I said to Dr. Glotter when he arrived in front of Mr. Hill, you're not on the program, and he said, I'm here for Kate Hill. So Dr. Drotta, would you join us for a moment to congratulate Kate? And so that too, another tribute for you and all of them. And in your future, I wish you every success. And who really is represented here tonight and shares the pride that all of us have is every teacher and staff member who has had the privilege to work with you, and you really exemplify all of the students that we have the privilege to teach in the public schools.
Thank you.
I don't think there's anything that can say non that by all. Ms. Joyce, thank you. Do you have anything to say?
Nothing other than I'm very proud of her.
I know, it's,
Nothing that I'm proud.
so on to a busy week before graduation. Thank you. Again, thank you. Thank you. Next, I'd like to invite to the table Janet Sheehan, Karen Clasby, and Dr. Martine Fisher. I told you this would be a memorable night. This is the wonderful part of the work. It's all wonderful, but these are really highlights. We have in our communications with parents and guardians and staff made these 3 phenomenal appointments this year, but it's my honor to bring these individuals to the table so that the school committee is able to meet these individuals in person, and the viewing public connects the names with the faces, and 2, you're recognized. So we are very, very proud of these 3 appointments. And why don't we begin with Janet Sheehan? So Janet Sheehan is returning to Milton after serving as a principal for 10 years in the Cohasset Public Schools. Janet served as a teacher and assistant principal at the Polycott School from 1994 to 2001, where her interest in instructional leadership prompted her to pursue a master's degree in education administration at Lesley University. She later became a member of the Lesley adjunct faculty. Janet received her undergraduate degree from Westfield State University and has experience as a classroom teacher in all grades from K through 6 in Randolph and Norwell Public Schools. As a principal, Janet has implemented numerous programs that include full-day kindergarten, an integrated preschool, and a primary learning center for children on the autism spectrum. School improvement initiatives include assessment team data analysis to inform instruction, the development of a standards-based report card, and the creation of a STEM lab to generate student interest in science-related fields in her elementary school. Mrs. Sheehan is presently working towards NAEYC accreditation of her current preschool and kindergarten programs. After preparing to meet 10 program standards and more than 400 criteria, her school team is anticipating the completion of a comprehensive program evaluation at the end of June. We had a screening committee. We had several qualified candidates that we interviewed. We had parents who surveyed every member of the Polycott community, and the unanimous selection of the screening committee was Janet Sheehan. We then put Janet in front of a group of our leadership team members, and again, through that round, the leadership team all agreed, and during the year, we've appointed Janet Sheehan to be the principal of Polycott School. The parents had a lovely reception for Janet. The teachers had a reception and were able to reconnect, and some of them meet Janet for the first time. I got feedback from Cohasset that school committee members were moving into her school to ask her to reconsider when she was moving in her career back to the Polycott School, and I couldn't be more pleased. The Polycott School is will be placed in your able hands. I want to tell you the feedback from the parents and the teachers has been phenomenal, and we are very, very excited about this appointment, and we welcome you, in this case, back to Milton. So to the school committee, Janice, principal of the college class. Any school committee member?
I was a co-op parent but did not know you, and I just needed to say that when I told other oldies but goodies college parents, oh, you're kidding, that is wonderful. From everywhere I've gone in town when people have heard the news, so people are welcoming you back with open arms. And having served on the search committee, there were many good candidates, but you were heads and tails above the rest. So it was very clear who you should hire for the College Cup. So I'm really glad that you were able to come and join us, and so are the other parents of College Cup.
Thank you so much. And I would like to thank Superintendent Gormley and Assistant Superintendent Phelan for their efforts to ensure that there is a smooth transition with all of the activities that they have planned. I had a wonderful tour of a beautiful building, and as Superintendent Gormley said, I had an opportunity to meet the faculty and staff, and then attended a PTO meeting. We've already set up a meeting in July. I've been in touch with our PTO leadership, and I got a wonderful sense of the strong partnership with the school, and the commitment, the level of involvement was very, very impressive. So I thank you very much for your lovely introduction, and it's wonderful to meet you, and what a treat for me to be at this meeting to see the, starting with the performance and then ending with the recognition of students. That was really, really wonderful to see. So thank you very much.
And through these introductions, two of the administrators had been in the system before. And it was interesting, we met with somebody who travels across the state, and we were talking about our new administrative positions. And I always pride ourselves in the Milton Public Schools that I can look across the state and identify superintendents and principals who have gone through the Milton Public Schools. And we have individuals who apply here who have been administrators in other districts. And this person had a very interesting perspective that two of these individuals who have traveled off and have phenomenal experience have come back to the Milton Public Schools. That made me feel proud on behalf of the district, so I welcome you back, and I hope the challenge is there. Next, I'd like to introduce to you Karen Clasby. Welcome, Karen. Karen Clasby was appointed during this school year our Director of our Pupil Personnel Services. Again, the title is different in every single school district, but it's a multifaceted job. Karen Clasby has worked in education for the last 30 years. She earned a Bachelor of Science degree in Special Education from Boston University, her Master's degree in Counseling Psychology from Lesley University, and is currently a doctoral candidate with UMass Boston in the Leadership in Urban Schools program. Ms. Clasby worked her way through college as a special education paraprofessional before becoming a special education teacher, then adjustment counselor, working with high-risk adolescents. She was the director of the Alternative Education program in Weymouth before becoming principal of the Arlington School, a private special education school in McLean Hospital. Most recently, for the past 4 years, she has been the director of student services in Randolph. Yes, she has worn many hats that I can attest to after these interviews, including serving as the adjunct professor for the University of Massachusetts, teaching an on-site class to student teachers in Randolph, and in the Teacher Next Year program. Karen Clasby is an advocate for all students, and again, we had a very large pool of candidates. All of these positions are integral to the success of every student's education. We had a group of, again, parents, teachers, and administrators. Karen gave us the time, shared her background, her expertise, and I couldn't think of a finer appointment for this integral job in the Milton Public Schools. And with Karen tonight is our very capable, I've never referred to Dr. Duvall as an interim person just here for a year. She has given 100%, and I will tell you, Karen has come. She has met with the PAC. We're going to have a reception in June. She has taken days that she has earned in the Randolph Public Schools for her personal business and she wants to be in every class. I think she's trying to get into every classroom before the last day of school. So you have hit the running before you have even begun. And again, our special education program, as all our programs are, very important to us. And I feel that we're putting a program in your capable hands that you will bring us to a new level. So on behalf of Milton Public Schools, I want to welcome you here, Karen.
I just want to say that it's wonderful to be here. And I did, in fact, want to visit all of your schools while there were children in them and teachers, so I could see and feel the energy. And I had an opportunity to spend a day in all of your elementary schools. It was wonderful. Your principals have such energy and vision, and all of them but you. So I look forward to talking with you too. And I got to look at some of your classrooms, and in fact, this Friday I'm coming to spend the day in your secondary program. So people are warm and friendly, your buildings are beautiful, and your leadership is open-minded and brilliant. So I'm very happy to be joining you here in Milton.
Well, again, we are thrilled, and now we have Karen took the lead in your previous district on the coordinated program review. So she is very familiar with the process and is waiting to get, we're going to speak later about our coordinated program review, as I say, the roadmap and plan in her hands. So welcome. And the pack is also very, very pleased. Thank you, Karen. Next, I want to welcome Dr. Martine Fisher. And Dr. Fisher has been appointed, and this is really the announcement tonight. So before any email blast or any announcement, this is a formal announcement of Dr. Martine Fisher to the Director of World Language for the Milton Public Schools. And her very, very able predecessor, Gracie Burke, is here tonight. And very difficult to say and thank Gracie for her years and years of service, but as the Milton Public Schools knows, we've started to thank Gracie, and it will last for 2 months. for the next 2 months. And so I want to tell you about Dr. Fisher. Dr. Fisher has had a career spanning nearly 30 years as an educator. With advanced degrees from the Sorbonne University in Paris and McGill University in Montreal, Dr. Fisher has taught world languages at every level, and I can attest to that. French immersion at Milton, where she became a National Board Certified Teacher and Advanced Placement Reader for the College Board, and French Language and Literature at McGill University, New York State University, Millsville University in Pennsylvania. Most recently, she taught French and Spanish at Quabbin Regional High School in Barre, Massachusetts. Dr. Fisher has published numerous literary articles and has lectured in France, Canada, and the United States. She will be coming back to the Milton Public Schools, having served the last 5 years as Chair and Chief Instructional Leader for the World Language Department in Barre, Massachusetts. I want to tell you on a personal note that, as I told the Glover students 100 years ago, I had the pleasure, it flew, didn't it, Martine, to hire Martine Fisher to be a first grade French immersion teacher at the Cunningham School. And when Martine applied for this position, it's unusual that you can find anyone who has been an outstanding teacher at the elementary school, one of the finest I've ever had the privilege to work with. Mr. Phelan?
One of the best teachers ever.
And high school and college experience. So you will bring a legitimacy and experience to every level. To be a K-12, as Karen Clasby will be, person is a unique position, and you are a gifted teacher, and your experience proven that you've gone off to become a really gifted administrator. What impressed me was we are very proud of our Latin and Spanish and FLES program. On behalf of the parent group that we work with, I said to Martine, our FLES program is huge at the elementary school. It's when we went over our 3 to 5 highlights and charges that we have given Martine to begin to think about and work in. One is our elementary FLES program and the expansion of our language programs and strengthening of all of our programs. And she said two things that impressed me. Told John Phelan should be the last person out of the parking lot, the first person here and the last person out every day. And she said, I might have been a French immersion teacher, she said, but I am an advocate for all languages, and I appreciate that. And we welcome you back to the Milton Public Schools. This is your formal announcement and presentation tonight to the middle school community. So welcome from Dr. Fisher.
I would like to say a few words. Yes.
Not too close.
Not too close. Can you hear me? All right. So it has been 22 years, Mary, that I went to Cunningham School to interview for a teaching position with Dr. Giuliano and yourself. As I consider the important position that has recently been offered to me, I am very grateful for the tremendous support and encouragement to develop that were given to me over the years by many people in the Milton schools. So without these people, you, Gracie, John, and many others, I would not be here tonight. I would say that like a good teacher, Milton taught me the desire to learn and the courage to explore. And I want to thank you for letting me go away and come back, and go away. So I intend to give my all, I told you so, and to work really hard toward the 5 goals that you outlined yourself a few months ago, I believe, in this very room. Lastly, hearing my unmistakable accent and knowing that I have taught twice in the French immersion program at Milton, one might think that I would be inclined in favor of French over other languages. So I'm here tonight to tell you that this is not the case. Over the past 5 years, I have worked in another district, and I worked very hard to develop all languages, and in this case, Chinese, Spanish, Latin, and French. So I intend to do so in Milton, under your guidance.
I don't speak any of those words.
So, as you know, over the few coming weeks, I will be consulting with you and John and Gracie, who has been the most gracious mentor for a long time now. And I look forward to starting. Thank you very much for giving me a third chance.
So when I said tonight was going to be one of my favorite school committee meetings, again, to see those elementary school students, to meet Kate Hill, and to know that our educational system is in the hands of these academically trained experts is a very, very exciting night. So, again, to the school committee.
Sorry, I just want to say a couple of things, Martine. First of all, I think you're going to have to race Mary Gormley to be the first one in and the last one out.
I know it's a challenge.
It's a challenge, but I think you're up to it. I think you're absolutely up to it. And second, as everyone has said, you have huge shoes to fill in Gracie Barkley in the Milton Public Schools, but what she began, we have confidence that you will continue, and I'm just so thankful that you're here.
And she's giving me a program in a beautiful state, so it's going to be a easy transition.
We're very proud of our world language program.
And I just want to say a word to welcome you back. And the last time I think we spoke was at a parent-teacher conference about 10 years ago. So I want to personally welcome you back.
Thank you very much.
And may, what? No, when we're done.
Go ahead, Laura. My day job is in human resources, and I have to say to all 3 of you, I'm very, very impressed with the talent that you're able to attract here in this town and in the school system. Companies and school systems live and die by the talent that they're able to attract. So I'm very, very excited that all of you have decided to join us, and welcome.
And if you would stay at the table, I have one more announcement to make that we made public this week. Dr. John Drotter is retiring, and Dr. Drotter announced his retirement late in the school year. And we created a screening committee, both just like for these positions, parents, teachers, and administrators. You were represented on the school committee by Glenn Pavlicek, and we had approximately 65 applicants. We interviewed 11 or 12 individuals, and again, what we were looking for, what the parents, the teachers, the administrators, the school committee was looking for in a new principal, and I didn't find a match. And when I make these appointments, I think that you can tell, next to me taking on the job, I have to be 100% secure on behalf of the children of the Milton Public Schools. And so when you think about it like that, again, it's a difficult decision, but it wasn't a match, or at that time, somebody who was going to bring Milton High School to a new level. And so I spoke to Glenn Pavlicek and the administrative team. We had discussions, and I contacted Dr. Joseph Arangio, who was the principal here before Dr. Drotter. And John Phelan and I met with Dr. Arangio, and I know for a fact that he's been offered positions since he's retired from Milton High, that he did not think we're a match, and he's worked actively at the Harvard Principal Center and in his profession since he's retired. And Dr. Arangio said, "How many people are you speaking to?" And I said to him, "Joe, I know without a doubt that if you agree to come to Milton High School for 1 year as the principal, there will not be a day, an hour, or a moment that a student or a teacher or a parent skips a beat. You will be able to join us at Milton High School." And again, I understand sometimes people think of interims as situations are in holding. I will promise you professionally and personally, you will be told by students, teachers, and parents in the community next year that Dr. Joseph Arangio will move Milton High School ahead next year. And so he agreed to take the position. I can't speak, I don't want to speak for John Phelan, he can speak for himself, but after we met, John Phelan and I said, Dr. Arangio asked all the right questions. You would have thought that he was just entering into the principalship, asking questions about Milton High School. Keep in mind, he's an expert on NEASC. He's been heavily involved in the organization, really internationally, and he's been active and current at Harvard. So I want to tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt that for the first Milton High School senior or the first freshman, for every parent and teacher, Milton High School will move at a speed that you will be very proud of and advance next year. We will convene another screening committee in the early fall. I've invited the screening members to serve again. And again, we've put out Dr. Arangio's resume. He was a successful principal here in the Boston Public Schools, in McLean, Virginia, and in West Hartford, Connecticut. He earned his 3 degrees from Boston University. And I, as I said, am completely secure in this 1-year appointment. And just as I said with Dr. Duvall, no one will refer to Dr. Arangio, and no one has ever referred to Dr. Duvall as an interim. We'll move ahead, and the rigor and the standards for every student at Milton High School and every teacher will be there. So Dr. Arangio will again come to one of our future meetings. This was short notice with this week's appointment. For those of individuals who haven't read the paper or didn't get the email blast, just to repeat that appointment. So we're very, very excited about the appointment of Dr. Arangio for a 1-year position at Milton High School. And so to the three of you, we get 4 new members of our leadership team, and in closing, you will make us better. When we bring the leadership team together, I wrote to them the other day, all of these individuals will provide you, our other principals and administrators, with professional development. So welcome. Next, I'd like to invite to the table Dr. Patricia Duval, our Administrator of Pupil Personnel Services, and Elisa Buchanan, our ELE Administrator and Teacher, who had just joined us this year, but has become a veteran in 1 short year. So I'll bring the public and the school committee back to having this year our audit from the state in special education, English language instruction, civil rights, Title I, and our homeless practices and procedures. Our report card was outstanding. These 2 individuals led the whole program and the audit in their respective disciplines. They submitted, as of today, a plan to the state that they're going to summarize for you, and I really wanted to bring them tonight. I thought that they would be able to share with you what they submitted to the state, but now the state is going to edit their plan, but they're going to summarize for you tonight and answer any questions you have. This was a very, just like NEASC and the self-study for 2 years and coming next year. We took this and we value the state who evaluates every school district and have the comparative data and all of the data in the system, so we value this evaluation. We value their suggestions on how to proceed. So Dr. Duval and Lisa Buchanan.
Again, I'm going to give just a quick overview and then turn it over to Elisa. I was here a month ago, which was the day that the report came out. It had just come out that afternoon, and it is a good report. The special education, the civil rights, and the ELA, and I took it upon myself, I think I shared then, to say out of the many, many items that we're supposed to live up to, we lived up to almost all of them, and I'll just move briefly to say again that this was our 6th year coordinated program review. What will happen again in some more years. And so during this past month, what we've had to do is take a look at those individual items and respond to the department and say, this is what we're going to do to make changes, to make improvements in those areas. Those were submitted today. And one of the new things that's happened in just the last year is that when this report is submitted, what we submit is not public, but what the department determines to be our corrective action will be public. And so on the website now, one can see all of the reports from 2010 where the department has told various systems how they need to make the changes. So just in special education and civil rights, just briefly to go over some of the items that we had, and then I will turn it over to Elisa in the English language learning area, where we had more of our heavy requirements. They have crossed over into civil rights and special ed, as you'll see in a moment. I mentioned last time too, and I'll just kind of say again, we have in special education 12 out of the 270 some odd items that we need to tweak a little, make some changes. Those have happened already. Some timelines, getting testing done in 30 days, making sure that we're determining appropriately, and this leads into the ELE area, which students should be tested and if in another language other than English. We need a monitoring sheet in our out-of-district folders that needs to be changed, a few more pieces of information. When they reviewed the folder, they found a youngster who was turning 18, had turned 18, and had determined how he or she was going to share. That's what they need to share. They're going to share the decision making. And in that case, the student had determined that it would be the student and parent, but had not dated the sheet. So that's the kind of item that we've had. We had a couple of forms that were not used appropriately for specific learning disabilities. And we had to look at one of our IEP sections where it says, what is the student expected to know? And in an IEP 2 that were found, and they happened to be, one of them happened to be with a student whose first language is not English, that part was not filled in. So that's the kind of thing that they cited us on. So in my turning in information today, I'm looking at, number one, how are we going to make that better, be sure that that happens? What are we going to submit to the department to show them that we made those changes? And then how will we look at it internally going forward? So I don't see those areas in any way major, and will be very simple things to do, particularly in service with our chairpersons. In the crossing over to the civil rights area, just 4 items, one of which I just want to mention because it's a special ed item. We are required to do training with physical restraint every year for all staff. And one of the things that we haven't done as carefully is to train a new person who comes after the beginning of the year within 1 month of their hire. So we will put together an interactive program that all staff come in, can view, participate in, sign off that they've done so, and that will be our internal monitoring procedure. And that while that's civil rights, it's really crossing over into the special ed area as well. And then also in civil rights, and backing up a little bit to special education, 3 of the civil rights areas and 2 of special education areas have to do with issues of translation of documents in special education, and determining how we do testing for these children. At the time that the audit team came, we had 2 children who were in special education whose first language was not English. So those were the folders that they looked at. That has, at last, we talked, it was up to 4 students, so it has increased. But the translation, looking at not only the documents, and we have an eSped program that we use for our IEPs, which has just come on this year, with translating those documents, and also looking at making sure that we're giving opportunity for counseling and guidance to students whose first language is not English, to making sure that we're knowing that they have opportunities to get what our students who understand English are able to get. So those are the basic areas, and you can see that in special education, both in civil rights, we've moved into the ELE area as well. That was a major focus, and we've shared before that there is a new OLA director, and Elisa can speak about that, who had not been out. She was just appointed, just before the team came in November. She was just appointed, had not been out on a coordinated program review, and we were next on up. So she came to us with an assistant, and so looked at obviously all of our areas in that. So let me just leave those and move to ELA, and Elisa can take over from there.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. Just want to give you a little background on the English language education program. In 2002, Massachusetts voters decided to have an English only movement that swept Massachusetts. When that movement came in, it was determined that in each district they were responsible for providing sheltered English immersion services. That's English services for students in a general education setting. In doing that, teachers need specific training to be a sheltered English immersion classroom. That's the model that we have in Milton. We identify students who are coming into the district through a home language survey. Parents, it's a translated form that parents fill out indicating if they speak a language other than English or their child speaks a language other than English. This gives us authorization to screen the children and older students for the English education program. So in doing that, we notify parents, and they have the right to opt out of the program as well. So through the process, in starting this past fall, this is my second audit that I've gone through. I did notice with the change of the guard at OLA, and it was a little bit different than the audit that I had gone through previously, and we're being held to the standards. It was a little bit loose in the past, but with the change of leadership, they want to ensure that the students have equal access to programs and their families have access to information, just like monolingual students. So the program is for students learning English as their first or second language, or third language. In the report, there are multiple areas where we need improvement. One of them
which Dr. Duvall spoke about, is translations. We need not only to provide written translations, but oral translations for families. That's for parent-teacher conferences. It also includes meetings such as kindergarten night, any types of evenings where families are provided information. It could be in a separate setting if families feel that they would like that, or within the larger setting. We also need to provide translations of report cards, important documents such as IEPs, and other important information from the school. We know which languages we need to translate our documents in by the home language survey. When families fill out that form, there is a portion that says, does your family need communication in a language other than English? And the families indicate yes, no, or sometimes both. If they indicate both, then we give it to them in English. The major languages that need translation at this point in time are Haitian Creole and Mandarin Chinese. Those are the largest populations of ELL, English language learners, within the Milton Public Schools. Also, I spoke to the sheltered English immersion model that we use. In using that model, we need to provide professional development opportunities for teachers in order for that particular classroom to be designated an SEI class. Now, within the audit, we do not have teachers that have received all 4 categories of training to be an SEI classroom. So as part of our corrective action plan, we outlined a professional development plan for English language education, specifically for these categories 1 through 4, for teachers who will have English language learners placed in their classes. It's my opinion that this professional development will not take away from the professional development of the educators within the district. It's usually very high quality and allows for teachers to understand ways in which to implement curriculum and modify curriculum differently. But it also helps teachers to modify curriculum for children who have, for example, a communication disability, which sometimes looks like an ELL problem. The other area that we need to correct is service time for students. At this point in time, we have 40 LEP students, limited English proficient students, that runs the gamut from kindergarten to 12th grade. We also have 10 former limited English proficient students. Those students have exited the program. They don't need service time any longer, service support time, but we do monitor them to make sure that they're able to navigate the classroom and that they're not having difficulty in English. For those 40 limited English proficient students, they are leveled according to their proficiency, and they participate in an annual Massachusetts English Proficiency Assessment, which occurs for some students in the fall. Those are newly entering students in 1st through 12th grade, and for all students in the spring. It also has, that is a paper and pencil test, although it's being converted to an online test. And also part of that is called a MILA-O. It's an occupational assessment of its students' speaking and listening abilities. So those scores are combined to determine a student's proficiency level. Based on their proficiency level, they are given a certain amount of service time and support. So at this point in time, we have tried to rectify students not having enough service time. But we're getting more and more students who are ELLs into the district. At this point, we have observed that there are 25 incoming kindergartners that will need to go through the screening. So there is there's a wave of students who are coming into not only Milton, but the state of Massachusetts. There were 10,000 new ELL students in Massachusetts alone last year. So we're not the only district that's feeling that our things are changing, and we are networking with other low incidence districts to understand other models that are being used, curriculum, and ways in which they're supporting their students. Also sharing resources, translations that some districts have already used. And for instance, in one example, we're going to couple with a report card that's already been developed for our students, and already some translations exist. Another part of the corrective action plan is a curriculum purchase. There hasn't necessarily been a tight curriculum for these students and there haven't been always high educational expectations of students who are learning English. Sometimes they can be transient. Sometimes they come in for a short time. They might go out and come back in. Also, students have some ELL students who are coming from other countries have interrupted schooling. So we're trying to figure out the best curriculum in order to implement for them. And over the course of the year, we'll be researching curriculum, and we will be evaluating what will be best to use to raise the level of academic language proficiency for ELL students and to raise the expectations. We just found out that one of our high school students, he came from Haiti just 2 years ago, and he has been accepted to college. And he came here not speaking English. So it's a testament to the program, even in its bare bones, it is working. So, and we've submitted our corrective action plan, and I believe that we'll need to tweak the plan, and that the state will give us some recommendations. And it looks right now that the curriculum, it would take us maybe about a year or two to be able to evaluate and implement a good curriculum for these students. And we've already started our translations right away. We've contracted with a Center for Multicultural Action Committee through Wheelock University, and we've started with the kindergarten, the registration package for our school system. So we're already moving in the right direction.
Wow. As someone who passed the ELL MTEL last summer, I think that was the most amazing presentation that you just made. It was thorough and clear and concise, and congratulations and welcome to Milton. I want to say just a couple of things. So I have a question. The the 4 categories, how much longer are you going to be able to use that category training to be able to be a teacher? I mean, aren't you at some point going to have to, aren't the teachers at some point going to have to take the MTELs in order to instruct ELL students?
I was just at a meeting with the head of OLA, her name is Esther Montano, and she believes that in order for teachers to be able to get professional licensure or to relicense, they will need to complete the 4 categories. So at this point in time, they're not talking about passing the MTEL test. It's really going through these more intensive training categories, and each of the categories provides different material for teachers, introduction to ELL students, more of the reading and writing, the background on how language is acquired, and also how to observe and evaluate students in the classrooms. So it's more intensive than just the preparation for an exam.
I think in some districts, I've heard that some districts are moving towards having both, that you have to not only have the 4 categories, but you have to have the MTEL test. I just wasn't sure if that was district by district decision, or
I think that it is case by case
And in terms of the translations, does the DESE support us with those translations for a lot of the documents?
So right now, as part of the Low and Support Group, they get coordinators and program directors across the state together, and that was one of our main concerns, that each of the districts is doing their own translation work, that we should have a set of standardized documents that the state assists us in translating, and that maybe there's also assistance from each of the towns or cities. The only document that has been collectively written and translated by the DESE, not in all languages, is the Home Language Survey, and that's brand new.
And to Ms. Buchanan's point, looking at our finance subcommittee, the professional development, having all of the material translated, the curriculum, is very costly. But every one of these students, just like any other student, deserve and are going to have the programming that they need. But a good news story, Joelle Augustine, Tucker parent, was at a meeting with us and heard this part of this presentation. She works at Harvard. She's a student at Harvard, but she works at Wheelock University. So we have been unsuccessful over the last 2 years, putting bids out, trying to get contractors to translate the student handbooks you receive and the parent handbooks that you receive. And so now we've partnered with Wheelock. We tried when we had the audit to do, is it Google Translator. They were having none of that. They want, and if Gracie Burke was here, we have tried computer versions of handbooks being translated, 40-page handbooks. And again, if it's going out under your auspices, it has to be perfect. And the translations are poor, fair to poor, or worse. And so we've now partnered with Wheelock, and our goal is to have every handbook this summer, and then work towards Principals Weekly communications, and again, to work on the professional development under the leadership of Mr. Phelan and the curriculum to meet all of the charges of that audit. But to the Milton parent, this translation issue is huge. If you can't communicate with the parents, then you're not going to be effective. And to Joelle Augustine, we really appreciate this lead.
This is to Dr. Duvall, a great presentation by both of you. I do understand the challenges we've especially been hearing about civil rights, special ed. So we've been talking about this at school committee for a long time, and I do appreciate the progress that was made. How many did you say out of the?
Instead of 12 out of 207.
Yeah, that's very impressive, and I know the parents are very happy with that. And I also believe that it's the right thing, the right thing to do by kids around special ed issues and civil rights and the other issues that you talked about. But maybe you could explain to the viewers, you're not doing this by choice. Why are we doing this? Why? Do you understand what I'm saying? We don't do this just because we feel like doing it, and it's the right thing to do.
Exactly. These items that, when the audit team came to us, they came to us actually a year ago for a self-assessment, and we put things forward, and they came back and forth, because in special education, this is the law. We must do this. As you say, it's not that we're doing it by choice. In the special education law, which goes back into the 70s, under Chapter 766, when Massachusetts was a forerunner to federal legislation, the law began. And so we're mandated to do this. And as we're moving into ELE, mandates are almost becoming parallel. We see it similarly in the ELE area to where they've been for years in special education. And so looking at that, while you say, you're right, it's a very positive report. These are things we have to be doing. Thank you.
Just a few questions, all of them probably fall under the new school community category. New school community category. The first one is Dr. Duvall. You said that there were some findings as a result of the audit, and we created some responses to those that would remediate the issues that were raised, and we expect something back from the state, either accepting those or asking for more work?
Exactly that. We submitted in today, and we were given a general guideline that if there's an area that you need to correct, first you have to provide some, a presentation that you're showing that you say to people this needs to be corrected and why you need to do it, and then how are you going to monitor that in fact we corrected it. So when I sent in and picked a particular example of an IEP section, I could pick that one and said that we would be meeting with staff and meeting with chairpersons about that. It could be that our chairperson at the department will say, that's not quite enough. I want you to have 2 meetings instead of 1. I want you to be reading internally instead of 50% of the IEPs in that category, I want 75%. So they very much can make those changes. I did, of course, and with Lisa too, took a look at the reports that were done for 2010, what came back to the approximately 20 towns. So when I was looking at SE3, for example, testing documents, I would go into the report from 2010 of, it could be Rochester, it could be Peabody, and pull out a town that was cited in SE3, Special Education 3, and take a look at what the department had had told them. I don't know what the department accepted, I know what the department told them in Peabody, for example, too. So I feel pretty assured that they're going to like what we've sent in, but they will let us know in a few weeks, and then they will come with some timelines as to when we need to do this.
May I finish with this point? You can see by Dr. Duval, on top of doing the outstanding teacher, this is a huge job to Ms. Bagley-Jones's point, but it's good work that the state comes in and does the evaluation. And each individual, Mr. Phelan, Dr. Duval, Lisa Buchanan, this was a huge responsibility, and I am 100% secure with what Pat Duval sent in today, and if they want to tweak or expect more. But to Mr. Locke's point, and then in the next 6 years, they come out regularly to check that you've kept the standard and how you're doing on the items that they have identified.
So that was just the introduction to my question. So my question is, at some point will the committee receive even more detailed briefing on what all the findings were and all of the accepted responses were? Yeah. Okay.
Well, to Mr. Walker's point, and I should have taken care of that, the results of the audit I'll send you tomorrow, and it's online, but I'll send you your own copy. I thought tonight that we could share with you the reports that were sent in today, but Dr. Duval said, well, those aren't public yet, because our contact at the state might say 2 of the 12 need more expansion. I think he'll say they're outstanding, and now you have a plan that you can make public. But for the viewing public, our complete audit, and I would encourage every citizen in the town to take a look at the report online, and because it's very valuable to see the detail in every one of these areas that they came in, and these professionals had to prepare documentation, so they didn't come in SE7, something, whatever SE7, special education, the 7th standard on IEPs. They had to prepare documentation on every one of those standards, and the state randomly went through records and educational plans within the district to back up our support material. So I'll send that to you. Everybody else can go online and look at the report online. And these will, as soon as they are made public, we'll send you our replies, but they were sent in today. I thought they would be public today, but they're not.
Thank you. Just 2 more quick questions from Ms. Buchanan. So on the home language survey, what language do you send the survey day home in?
There are multiple languages listed, so we have them in our registration packages. They don't typically go get sent home. It's when you enter the district. And so right now we have it in English, Haitian Creole, and Spanish. And we need to adapt that and change. Because we do also have some families who speak Vietnamese, Cantonese, and Mandarin. So we need to have other options. And then as we find there are other language groups that are coming into the town, we would adapt our home language survey. For example, when I was inspecting all of the new home language surveys for the children who are coming into the district, I noticed that there's a family that speaks Farsi. So they don't speak it. There's only one family right now, but who knows, we could have multiple language groups come into Milton, so we have to change based upon who lives here too.
And then the second question is just on, with most surveys, a 40-50% response rate is fine, but in this case, I assume you strive for 100% response rate?
We do, and
Supposed to be get to that.
I would say that at some of our registration evenings, we might need to change some things to be able to provide access to families in the language that is most comfortable for them, because some of these forms are unfamiliar or the questions may seem tricky based on the translation, and we might not know why we're asking this information, and sometimes families think that if they put down that they speak another language at their home, that they might be treated differently. And so we need to do some outreach to families when they do come in to Milton to make sure that they understand that this information is integral to providing the best education for their children.
Thank you.
I'm just thinking, after that, your question, Leroy, that it might be important to have our residency packet translated as well. In terms of
Mrs. Joelle Augusta is already working on it.
The registration process, to Leroy's point, though, how we get 100%, you have to fill out the language survey as part of the registration packet. So every student who is to be accepted as a student in the Milton Public Schools has to have every aspect of that packet filled out, one of which is the home survey as well, which will then be provided in the student's home language after you find out what that home language would be.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for this report. I just want to follow up in two different areas. For special education, I know when we had the review 6 years ago, we had talked about having some software that would give us sort of higher level reporting so that we were meeting timelines. Is that something that we presently use? And
interrupting your question, it is. We didn't have 6 years ago when we were just beginning in the ESPED process, and it does help with timelines. And when I look at that, there were basically two timelines. It was two folders that they had reviewed, and that is the rule from the department. If they find an item twice, they will cite us on that. And what I've had to do this year, it was apart from the audit, but it's worked well. I was required to file indicator 11 information October through December, which means every initial evaluation completed in every school this year, with a timeline for testing and a timeline for the IEP getting to the parent. And so that's documentation that I will use to be submitting in this area. I mean, that's something that particularly they choose groups every year to do that. We were selected this year. And so I think we certainly have improved in that area. I didn't see it as major an issue, but it is one of our 12 items. And it's something that chairpersons, when they plug in, and the date begins the date that the parent signs permission for a T-evaluation. And when that goes into ESPED, it automatically generates the 30 days and the 45 days. What it doesn't know is when we might have a day off that another system might not have, or a snow day that some systems have. So then it requires the individual to do the computing individually. But ESPED does help us with that, and also will be helping us with translations.
And then going over to the ELE program, you had talked about the different translations that need to happen. I thought you mentioned sort of a verbal translation as well. Are we required to have, like, on tape or anything like that? Some of these documents that we're translating in writing, but also have to have available verbally?
No, so we're required to provide translations of written materials that we would give monolingual or English-speaking families. The only thing that would need verbal interpretation services is for example, an IEP meeting, parent-teacher conferences, because that is information that's conveyed auditorily, and not everything that the teacher might say is in the report card or in a narrative. And if there are meetings in which we have families attend, such as kindergarten night, we would need to provide an interpreter so that they could have the information immediately, just like English-speaking families, and that they could have clarification provided to them immediately the same evening that they attended the information.
And have we had that in place now, or this is something that was striving for?
This is something that we need to put in place.
We've, on occasion, we have had translators at IEP meetings. That would be, everything's the bar, but a special education IEP meeting is an essential. And we've reached out and provided translators.
Chairpersons would call in if they had a family and needed a person, we've had some contacts.
And then one other question that I have is, I guess, getting my head around, if I was an incoming Milton Public School student whose only language was Mandarin Chinese, and I was entering the 10th grade, how does that work? I can't understand how I would have to overcome my learning English, in addition to still being challenged at the level appropriate for the different disciplines that they would be taking. So how does that work?
So we're working on a procedure. We're speaking about that this week. And in the instance that we have a student who is a non-English speaker, we need to have a better support system in place for that student, where they may need, if they're the only non-speaker at the high school level, they may need the services of a teacher who intensely supports them in their curriculum in English, and then the English language educator helps to the content area teacher or assist them in making appropriate modifications for that student based on their linguistic level, making different vocabulary modifications. At times, this is not always the case, students can enter a math class with their same age linguistic peers, even though the content is delivered in English. Occasionally, for the most part, they're able to still access the math curriculum. They've learned it in their home country, and then that they're able to transfer it to their new language. This doesn't always happen, but for the students that we're seeing right now, it's happening pretty quickly for them.
And I think for Mrs. Kelly and the viewing public, these students, based on the results of the testing, are given up to, what's the maximum number of hours a day?
2.5 hours per day.
2.5 hours per day, Mrs. Kelly, in a 1-to-1 or a 1-on-3, building their English skills. And so I've been involved in some of the programming at the high school. So if a high school student has 2.5 hours, 1-on-1 on 1-on-3, with a teacher skilled in developing the curriculum, maybe taking the classes that they're in the other part of the day, breaking down the material, translating it for them, or finding translations. So again, based on the level, we have elementary, middle, and high school students who have 2.5 hours a day
and a one-on-one or a one-on-4 or a one-on-2, building their English skills. But you're right, how fast can they equip them with those English skills to then the other portion of the day go into which we prioritize, the English and the math and the science classrooms.
Right, and I guess that's a concern. I think I would love to hear at another future meeting sort of a real approach to this, based on the number of students, and I think you mentioned you thought that a lot more might be joining this program as a result of kindergarten screening, et cetera. This is a huge issue that affects every classroom, I would think, if I'm understanding this correctly, because there's a separate classroom for the development of the English skill, but then there's the remaining classes that are the normal classes that everyone else would be taking. So it's a huge, it sounds like it's becoming a much bigger issue in Milton than it has in the past, and as you point out, in other communities. But how we keep balance and really support those kids, as well as not take away from anything else that other kids are getting, I think that's always a challenge, will be a challenge.
And to Mrs. Kelly's point, asking for a future meeting, we're in the discussions now that we've had this training over the years. So one of the strands, all our teachers went through one of the strands, and then several teachers went through another strand. But we're in the planning stages now of identifying high school, middle, and elementary school teachers in classrooms where we can target these children. When the individual from Ola came out, he said to me, "You'll never be able to get all of your teachers in the Milton Public Schools through all 4 strands." So he said, you should identify and get those teachers trained and then increase the training next year. So the reports that were submitted, we came up with 1, 3, and 6-year plans, because, not to stay on this tonight, but if John Phelan was the 3rd grade teacher, we have to have more than 1 3rd grade teacher going through the strands. But to meet the needs, because nobody has 1 hour or 1 day to waste, we need the teachers trained in these strands and being able to meet these students where they are and bring them to the next level. Thank you. Thank you.
I just want to chime in on one piece that you mentioned, 12 issues in special ed, and I counted 4 in civil rights and something like 7 in the ELE that were targeted. These were all cited as being partially implemented. I mean, these were not implemented. The audit classifies things as implemented, not implemented, or partially implemented. We had nothing that in our report that was not implemented. I mean, it was just a question of we were at the tweaking stage and getting things in full compliance. So I think it's important to talk about the fact that even though there are some 20 issues we have to address, these are not things we're not doing. It's just things that we can bring up to a slightly higher standard than we currently do. So I think that's important.
It was an exemplary report card. Dr. Duval, was it not an exemplary report card?
Absolutely, yeah. I was very pleased.
Well, it speaks to the support of the town, the warrant committee, the school committee, to special education, and the emphasis on the special education program in the Milton Public Schools, and the ELE program. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Great job. Briefly, and you've been an outstanding audience. I want to just repeat tonight, we had an unbelievable event the other night, the FFE's Teacher of the Year. One more time, join me in congratulating Liz Spitz from the Tucker, Carolyn O'Connor from the Glover, Amanda Lafort from the Cunningham, Ann Kelly from the Collycott, David Cazzoli from the PS, Nick Fitzgerald from Milton High School, and Gracie Burke, who was awarded the Mary Grasso O'Neill Leadership Award. The highlight, again, going into the rooms with the surprise announcements. Mr. Walker wants to be part of the team next year. He's heard so much about it. But that night, to hear those teachers stand up, their speeches, they were powerful. They were unbelievable speeches, and I'll summarize the whole night with Nick Fitzgerald said, "I'm an outstanding teacher because I've been given the opportunity to teach outstanding students here in Milton." And so that really summed up the whole night. The MFE, working tirelessly on behalf of the Milton Public Schools, today sent out their grant award letters, the second cycle. I've asked the MFE to come to your next meeting. Again, under our finance subcommittee, we'll accept the monetary donation. Mrs. Kelly, at the next meeting, they'll give an outline of the grants at the next meeting. You all came to the Scholastic Awards night last week, 2 weeks ago, where we had the Century Club, National Honor Society, and Junior Book Awards. Tomorrow night, the Milton High School Music Department, a favorite of many of you this night, the potluck dinner, where the seniors are recognized, and there'll be a concert after that night. Again, I cannot plug enough the fuller weekend, Friday night and Saturday at no cost for those advocates of the arts. And if you want your child to experience art 1 to 4 on Saturday afternoon, and the entire town is invited to Fuller, 7 to 9 o'clock Friday night. The jazz band will be entertaining for an hour. I'll tell you a little secret. They were going to have the Fuller line dancing Saturday night, but they've moved the line dancing to Saturday, so this has been a nice partnership. I was going to highlight, but they did it themselves, the PS Players Senior Week for the public to circle the calendars with seniors and the school committee. We'll send out Tuesday, May 30th, Senior Awards Night, always a highlight. Wednesday, June 1st, Boosters Banquet, where the athletic awards are given out. If you're free that Friday morning, Senior Breakfast at 8 o'clock. If you're free, the prom that night, and all of you will walk with our seniors as they become graduates on Sunday, June 5th. Very, very exciting times in the schools. For parents and guardians, if you would check your children's school's website, as MCAS testing in math and science, technology, engineering during the next 2 weeks. And for those parents entering the Milton Public Schools, kindergarten parents, the information regarding school assignments, tuition information, dates and times for kindergarten screenings will go out via email to the parent of every child who is registered for kindergarten. That's been under the leadership of Mr. Phelan. The system has been perfected, and the PAC will have a reception for Dr. Duval on June 9th. We'll keep that on the front of the web page. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Superintendent Gordon. Just one thing on my report, I did send out requests for subcommittee positions. I've got almost everything back. I just want to contact a couple people and fill the last couple positions. But if you haven't talked to me, maybe just after the meeting tonight, almost everybody. We have a couple that I'm just not sure if people still want to do, and the one thing we'll have to do is we do need to get somebody who's going to sign the payroll, because Mr. Huban used to sign the payroll and staff. And Mary, you too.
I did, yes.
So we don't have anyone currently who's authorized to do that, so we need to probably send of that. So anyone who hasn't replied to that, get in touch with.
Do they need to be voted?
Yes, but I want to get everyone to reply first and then put it out to the committee next time. But I think we can, there are few enough of us, I think we can work this out. You know, I think most people don't know. It's not like we have everyone pushing to be on finance at 7 o'clock. We can do it. So that's all I have. The finance subcommittee report.
Town meeting went very successfully. The town meeting, in their good wisdom, allocated us the budget that the warrant committee had recommended, which enables us to maintain almost all of our teaching positions that we have in place this year. They also agreed with our capital funding requests, so that we'll be able to start on those projects in terms of redoing the coverings on the outside ductwork. I think it's the duct, the outside ductwork. Yes, is a very important project for us. There was some discussion about the Blue Hills regional budget. I think, at least in a brief discussion with a member of the warrant committee afterwards, I think this is a matter of process and we can put it on the finance subcommittee sort of agenda to reach out to Blue Hills early in the year next year. Perhaps to even reach out to other communities that are members of the Blue Hills Regional and make it much more cooperative process so that at least we all will have facts and figures before us and maybe we'll have some say as to how their budgets are constructed based on, what we're experiencing. Granted, I guess for the public's benefit, Blue Hills is definitely different than every other district. It does serve a great need in education. We certainly could not provide all the services that they provide in the Milton Public Schools without a lot of additional funding. And so they do provide a great service for us. But, having it a more cooperative enterprise in terms of back and forth and understanding what funding is for, I think will be beneficial for everyone involved. And I think that's it.
May I add something to that? After town meeting, and perhaps at the next school committee meeting, we still have approximately $800,000 in non-personnel cuts. So moving the system ahead with no new positions and very creatively looking at those one-time non-personnel cuts. We still are eliminating a grade 5 teacher at the Polycarp-Cunningham, a position in the business office, and a half-time kindergarten position. And so to that point, we received a petition from the parents at the Polycarp-Cunningham. I shared it with the school committee, and in finance subcommittee, we've put the figures in front of finance subcommittee, and again, that would be a new position, and right now we don't have the funding for that position. The finance subcommittee, if I might, has charged us very creatively to look at the numbers across the district, to look at the Cunningham Polyclot, and we're going to report back to finance subcommittee each Monday morning with that position, and parents who have contacted me, I've told them that we're examining it. And but we'll, at the next meeting, go over that budget so everybody understands our budget going forward, what the cuts were, what the cuts are going to be.
And then just one other note on town meeting, as part of the appropriation, the warrant committee did recommend and the town meeting agreed to put additional funds back into the stabilization fund, anticipating that next year there will be a need to bolster some budgets, and I can say, especially based on the one-time funding issues that Ms. Gormley just described, we will definitely need as we move forward into the FY12 budget. So that's all I have on the town meeting, unless somebody else has something.
Good.
I was just going to ask a question, Mrs. Kelly. So I like your suggestion about having us get more involved with Blue Hills Regional. I think at some point it would be beneficial to have one of our school committee members go to their budget planning meeting, so rather than...
Right. So I have done that in years past. It's a matter of just being linked into all the dates, et cetera, and understanding what their plan is. But I think there's power in numbers. That's why I think it's not necessarily how many members from Milton would go to these, but it's how many members we can get from the other communities to go and to participate. So I think it's a process that needs to be created, and I think we should probably do that.
And to that point, it's the warrant committee, isn't it, Mr. Walker, who the Blue Hills Regional reports to. But it became apparent at town meetings, so Mr. Phelan and I are reaching out to Blue Hills so that we get educated, we understand, and then we'll provide opportunities for you on how you want to get involved.
Right, and I guess, from my perspective, Blue Hills Regional is educating our kids, some of our kids, right? And so we are sort of the education umbrella here. I would love to have them come and present their budget here. as part of, sort of the evolution of where they get to before we get to a town meeting. So that's sort of the vision that I have in terms of creating a partnership.
It might be good for Blue Hills to understand the budget of the Sunday districts, what the Sunday district school committees are working, the pressures that they're feeling.
Anything else on town meeting?
And then on the third quarter financial update, I can't quite frankly remember whether we voted it. We did recommend it. Okay. Because I have a couple questions as I was going through it again.
I remember voting it at finance subcommittee.
So, I guess I would make a motion that we accept the third quarter financial update.
And forward any questions to Matt Gillis and me. Second.
Ms. Sharon, any comments, questions, discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Is unanimous. Thank you.
And then I guess I would ask if that could just be posted online.
Anything else for finance?
The one thing that I wanted to hopefully be able to bring the full committee in a future meeting is an update on the fundraising for the year. There's been a lot of big fundraising going on in terms of athletics and the clubs. And every year we depend on that fundraising achieving its commitment. And I think it would be good to double back and report out to the community where we're at.
Absolutely.
Is that it for finance?
I believe that's it.
Okay. Citizens speak topic responses, anyone? Next meeting, agenda items. I have received minutes of our last meeting, which was actually 3 meetings because of the choice of the hearing of reorganization and so forth. And I haven't finished reading them yet, so I'll have to force on the next meeting. We have to vote the school choice minutes at our next meeting in order to send them on to the state by the middle of June. But we'll have those on the agenda next time.
When we were looking at the resumes, specifically of Dr. Martin Fisher, I noticed that she's a nationally board certified teacher. And I know that we have others in Milton. And it just made me think about how do we celebrate those individuals and how do we advertise the fact that we have these very talented, it's a huge accomplishment to be a national board certified teacher. And is there a way either on our website, is there something we put on the website or on each school that there's a page for teacher leaders or something like that? It just seems like it's such an amazing accomplishment that it should be celebrated as much as possible. I don't know if it's technically another agenda item or just something.
Anything else?
In the upcoming meetings, you have your volunteer reception, and we're sending out the invitations on behalf of the school committee, and you have your retirees reception upcoming. 2 highlights.
Could Charlene send us all of these dates? We have them, but it would be nice to get all of this with everything.
With all the senior week and things too, that's a whole calendar.
They're on the webpage.
All right, at that point then I'll entertain the motion to go into executive session for purpose of contract negotiations. We will not be returning to open session, we will be returning directly from the executive session. Moved by Mr. Walker, second by Mr. Payne. We roll call vote. Mr. Walker? Yes. Sharon?
Yes.
Mr. Payne? Yes. Myself, yes. Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you, everyone.
What? Sorry, I thought they were going to like another. Oh, no, fine. They do every meeting. They